Oh my God, PJ, I don't know if it's picking up on my mic, but there is a Mr. Softy truck outside my apartment. And that's so fortuitous
Oh,
because it's the ice cream
isn't that
game.
just isn't that just your car for work?
Man, man, you know
I
what?
mean, when
You're
you
not.
introduced me when we first met each other at that strip club in Reno, your
Yeah,
name was Mr. Softy.
it was Mr. Softy, but because of that, PJ, I'm going to give you, next time I give you one of those SpongeBob popsicles, I'm going to lick both of the gumballs
How's that any different
from what happened in Reno. Yeah. Welcome to No Sad Face, a toxically positive Kingdom Hearts fandom podcast with your host, me, Pat from Pennsylvania, and my co-host, my good friend, KH historian, artist, and one of my darkest secrets, PJ from Cabletown. PJ, how are you? You like that?
I loved that. I think you just wanted to do the intro because you wanted to do the dark hidden lore between us for this episode.
I think we need to really keep expanding on that. I think that's good because it keeps the people hooked, you know? They don't really care about what we think about Days. They want to know, like,
right,
the sordid history, David. Not sordid history. Because he might be captioning this one, too.
You know, we really should have paid attention to that. In my defense, all I said was, "Hey, David, can you make me a scrolling background?"
This is a full production. This is Tony Award winning. Because we're putting on a play for the people, PJ.
Okay. Is this play about us?
Yeah, I think so. I guess we've kind of like unburied the lead, but this is the first episode that we're recording after the premiere.
This past weekend was March Caprice, and we premiered our first episode and stealth dropped the Chain of Memories episode, and I'm very pleased and kind of touched at the response already.
Yeah, very, very nice stuff from the comments. I was saying in our last attempt at talking about this that usually, or like I understand that like there's a March Caprice bump to an extent with the stuff that goes out during the event. But I was happy to see that it wasn't like we had our 40-minute block and people were paying attention to it then and then they stopped. No, like for the past couple of days, people have been leaving comments, subscribing to the channel, and I'm very, very happy. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, I kind of thought at first that it was the March Caprice bump in and of itself, which would have, that's why. Perfect time to premiere.
Sure.
Like get it on the ground floor.
That's the point.
But, a good size moved on to the next episode.
Yeah.
Which had very little promotion and engagement actually went up a lot after March Caprice. So I think that this is going to be a fun ride, and I'm really happy that you guys are here, and I'm really excited. We still have a bit of a backlog that we're kind of working through in terms of episodes and recording and all of that. So if you guys had like an issue or some criticism or some suggestions, like we won't be able to address it immediately, but still we're watching, we're listening, we're ignoring. And maybe implementing. So
yeah, like if you left a comment on episode 1 or 2 and it's been like 2 episodes and the fix hasn't been implemented yet, that's because of the release schedule. If it's been like 4 episodes, it's because we ignored you.
Yeah.
So that's how you that's your barometer for measuring. Yeah.
We read everything. So if we're not addressing you, we did ignore you on purpose.
Right.
Well, now that we got that fun community building out of the way.
Yeah, I think they all feel a lot more connected to us now. That was good.
Good. That's what I kept thinking, like, man, how can I get closer to these people?
Yeah.
And I realized it's insult them. By the way, anecdotally, you were everywhere.
That's not my fault.
Caprice
it's not my fault that I'm accessible, that people want me. People reach out and they say, hey, Pat, could you record XYZ for my video? And it's like, who am I to say no? I feel so flattered that anyone would want my schmuck voice in their video.
That's fine. But what I took real issue with was I was playing a perfectly innocent game of Scriblio.
Yeah.
And then you get attacked by Whale.
Oh, right. The diss track. Yeah.
The diss track just drops. I came
awesome.
to have a good time.
Yeah.
And then a bunch of people just kind of like pile onto you.
Yeah.
And start like negging you and attacking you. And I'm like, first of all, that's my job. Second of all, is Pat okay with this?
Well,
because for me, like I love shade.
Yeah.
I love being a little negative Nancy. That's why we do this podcast, because it's an exercise in ignoring, your self-preservation tactics.
Right.
But I was like, I wouldn't respond well to this, especially if it's people I don't know, because I know that you don't know all of your audience super well.
Yeah.
So for them to carry on that bit, I was just like, oh my God. So afterwards, I checked in on you guys. You need to hear this. I checked in on Pat and I was like, hey, that was like a lot. Like, I know that with Whale it was fine, but like, are you okay with like the dog piling? And Pat, straight up, doesn't miss a beat. Warmth in his voice goes, "Oh, it's just because of how popular I am."
That's not what I said.
It's just because everybody loves me so much.
There was
no irony. There was no.
Well,
it was sincere.
If I don't protect my mental peace in that way, how could I let it go on? Okay,
it was Pat's most earnest moment, you guys.
I've never been more earnest than that. It was Ernest goes to Scala. That's what it was.
My tires, like the air went totally out of them, and I went, you know what? I'm doubling down. So now
I have to keep inviting it because it's like any news is good news, you know?
A real glutton for punishment, I suppose. A little fox guy for punishment.
That's sorry.
Because you said Gula was a fox.
Well, you didn't correct me in the moment, which is not like, oh, I'm above that. I'm like, I'm better than correcting Pat. And I know you're not. It's because you didn't think about it. You just let it happen. So you're complicit.
I'm going to go back to the original recording.
Okay.
And I will unearth that I did correct you.
What?
But I so graciously edited it out to save you a little bit of face.
See, you're fucking with me because it's been like 2 months, so I don't remember if you did correct me in the moment.
Well, we'll see.
Whatever, ass. But yeah, that was very funny. And then multiple people did check in on me to make sure that I was okay. I thought it was actually very sweet. But like the funny thing is how long it's been of people doing this. Like it didn't register with me at all that like that was out of the ordinary. I was like, oh yeah, it's fine. Like
I thought the diss track was. I mean, I thought it was all fine.
Oh, it was
especially
hilarious.
For the people who are your friends.
I mean, she asked me for permission to do it. For the record, it's not like she just made it and like I have to put up with it. Like she. Was
I'm not worried about Whale. I'm not worried about Whale.
She's great.
That's not it. That wasn't it. The thing that I was like, ugh, about was that like everybody took that as a welcoming like invitation.
Yeah. Didn't even register with me. I was like, oh, it's Wednesday, or whatever day it was.
It was the day that ended with Y, I suppose.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of days that end with Y.
358
days.
Yeah. Over 2.
Over 2 of them. That's us.
I guess we're the 2.
Yeah.
So 358 Days Over 2 is a Kingdom Hearts game that was released in 2008 for the Nintendo DS, May in Japan, September in what? Oh, 2009, I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah, I'm going to Google you. You just got Google.
No. Sorry, yeah. I meant 2009. May in 2009 in Japan, September of 2009 in America. I'm not reading. I'm just going off of
that's
the
impressive.
Rolodex in my head.
I do not know it, so good job.
Well, let me tell you why I know it.
Yeah.
Because Kingdom Hearts started doing this thing with these handheld titles where they were like, you know what? We're going to make the release date as annoying as possible for PJ.
Yeah.
Because in September of 2009, the DS game came out my first day of college. I had a late college start date. Like it was late September. And I remember being like, okay, I have all this summer. Where's King? And it came out in May in Japan. So I was like, okay, I can play days. I'm pumped. I'm excited. And then it just didn't. And I remember being like, I'm in like a totally new environment. I've moved into my dorm. I am like doing the college thing. I am fresh faced, 18 years old, learning how to be gay. It was a lot, right?
Taking gay 101.
Yeah, and I failed. But
you failed?
I was not a good gay.
You didn't get an extension on your projects?
I didn't get anything in college. But how much of this is usable, I wonder?
It's all usable.
Like,
people like this part. They like hearing about our dumb little lives.
I guess so. They were like, we need the episodes to be longer. And I'm like, are you sure you know what you're asking?
I honestly, like, the more free form, the better. Like, I love the structure, but if we, meander about, then let it be.
The problem isn't us. The problem is David Russell.
That's true.
Holding us at gunpoint. Because, again, I say, we only asked for a scrolling background. That's all I want.
And if you're on Spotify, you don't even get that. Like, if like...
No, although Spotify does videos now. If I wanted to, I could do the video podcast. But I'm not. Yeah. But I could. But I'm not. But I told David, like, now that you've made the first episode this great, we can never
It's
go
not
back.
maintainable.
Like, this is not sustainable at all.
Yeah.
And he's like, I can do it in a day.
I can do it.
That was a really good David Russell impression. I know that you guys might not know his voice, but like, that was a really...
Yeah.
I'm really impressed with myself.
Yeah, he's kind of like a Muppet that like escaped from Sesame Asylum.
What the fuck were we talking about?
How BBS came out on first day of sophomore year.
Surely did. And then I think Coded came out the first day back from winter break. So I just couldn't catch a break.
Yeah.
Although I will say Dream Drop came out in July. So that was nice.
Yeah, that was weird. I feel like I wanted to actually ask you about like your attachment or like your level of nostalgia for each game, because hi motorcycle outside the apartment. God, there's a fucking parade today. I don't really have any nostalgic attachment to Dream Drop, and I'm wondering if that's because like there's no school. Because I feel like memory is stronger.
Oh.
Like summer is so like, you know, every day is kind of the same. Like, you know, if you're like me, you're probably inside playing games. Maybe you're outside in the pool. Like every day is sort of like a repeat. But like I have nostalgia for Days and for KH1 and 2 and even 3, which is obviously, you know, the most recent of that batch. But with Dream Drop, I like have no memory of it.
I mean, I remember everything.
Eyes wide open.
Yeah, and I have levels of fondness for, you know, all of those games. But I will say, you know, I mentioned this in an earlier episode. I think about the Kingdom Hearts games in eras.
Yeah.
So for me, Kingdom Hearts kind of was on its own island, but you know, I would still pair it together with Chain of Memories and 2 because of the development time, but also because of how they all kind of led into each other. And I do have like a lot of very strange fondness for the handheld era. In particular, I mean, we'll talk about Dream Drop Distance in another episode, but these 3 games, Coded, Birth by Sleep, and 358 over 2 days, however you want to say it.
Yeah.
They were announced at the same time. So what ended up happening, this is, I guess this is a history lesson for the audience.
People like that. People like that. I like it too.
Apparently so. Kingdom Hearts 2 came out in 2005 in Japan, 2006 in America, and then they did Final Mix in Japan in March of 2007. Again, I don't have this is purely off of memory. So
I know you got
if I'm wrong, someone will let me know in the comments.
Yeah.
And you know, when Final Mix had come out, people were like, is Kingdom Hearts 3 next? Is Kingdom Hearts 3 next? And Nomura was like, no, we're kind of interested in telling other stories for now. And there were lots of reasons for this. One of the reasons was that the Final Fantasy 13 series was in development.
Right.
And that was spawning off into a separate franchise called Fabula Nova Crystallis. So there was going to be a mainline Final Fantasy 13. There was going to be a side game called the Agito, and then there was going to be a sort of not companion game, but like I don't really know how to describe Versus 13, but it was going to bookend that series. And what it was that, like, you know, 3 games that take place in separate realities, separate continuities, separate stories, but they all share a common mythology with common themes. And so, you know, the idea was to have these 3 games kind of pull into each other and reference each other, but remain separate experiences. And Versus 13 was directed by Nomura. He was the character designer for all of them, and he had input in the story for all of them, but Versus 13 was his baby.
It still is.
And it still is. Versus 13 will become very important to the overarching world of Kingdom Hearts in time. But for now, it was developed originally as a PlayStation 3 game to be released as a sort of antipody to Base 13.
You're going to say antipody like the KH fans know what that is?
Contrasting.
Thank you, Poindexter. Yeah.
Flipping thing, whatever.
Yeah.
Calm down. We are all English majors. It's okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, that game was Nomura's baby. It was revealed either 2006 or 2007 with this really intricate trailer, and people fell in love with it. But Nomura knew, like, hey, this is the next thing I'm working on. This is going to take up a lot of my time, my effort, my patience, my creative vision. And it was his first time directing a Final Fantasy game.
Mm.
Like it was he'd only directed the Kingdom Hearts series at that point. And he was also, he had been pulled into the Final Fantasy VII compilation series, which was another huge flagship thing for Square at the time. Advent Children had just come out, which he co-directed. He was really in demand at this point. And so even though Kingdom Hearts was also his baby, he knew that he could not go on to 3. And he was also not really interested in going on to 3 at that time because he had all of these other stories in the continuity of Kingdom Hearts that he wanted to tell.
Right.
So for me, it's particularly frustrating when people are like, we waited 20 years for Kingdom Hearts or whatever the argument is, because he was very clear from the get-go, like, we're not doing 3 yet. Sure, if you're not paying attention to what he's saying, that's fine. But in the grand scheme of things, I mean, we got some pretty huge games before 3.
We did, and they're so important to the lifeblood of the series.
They're important, they're fun, they're all Kingdom Hearts, it's whatever. So that was going on and that was happening. And more importantly, Nomura took the Kingdom Hearts team with him to move on to do Versus 13. So he knew that if he wanted to make Kingdom Hearts 3, he had to wait until Versus 13 was finished because he wanted his original team in Tokyo to work on it. Final Mix was finished, and Final Mix was released with a remake of Chain of Memories. So those games come out. Nomura says, I have other things that I'm doing, but there will be other Kingdom Hearts games. And in an interview after Final Mix came out, they were like, well, if it's not going to be like a mainline game, like what are you interested in pursuing? And he's like, I'm not sure. Because at that point, which he did know, by the way, but at that point, there were a lot of different like consoles that hit the market. PlayStation 3 was in its infancy. The new Xbox 360 had just kind of come out. The DS was gaining prominence. The Wii was on the horizon.
Yep.
Like there were a lot of things that were kind of coming up that were really changing the game, and mobile gaming was becoming popular in Japan.
Right.
Oh, and the PSP had been released.
Ah, yes, that one.
So Nomura was like, there's the DS, there's mobile games, there's a PSP. There's lots of interesting things going around. And he named those 3, but he did it kind of anecdotally.
Right. Coincidentally, he named, the 3 platforms that the next 3 games are going to show up on.
Right. And he was also like, and, we're interested in telling other stories. So, maybe Roxas' time in the organization, what Mickey and Riku were doing, Xehanort's past, like, who knows? It could be anything. And then I think it was TGS 2007 rolls around. I think it was TGS. And suddenly these rumors start flying out like, oh, there's a PSP game. Oh, there's a DS game. And a scan hits the internet that shows off screenshots. And we're not really sure what the games are yet, but we see Terra, we see Roxas, we see Mickey. And then shortly after, this trio of games were announced. Coded, Birth by Sleep, and 358 Days Over 2. 358 Days Over 2 was always kind of framed as the Roxas game.
Right.
Telling the time of Roxas's journey in the organization between his birth and the beginning of Kingdom Hearts 2. And people were like flabbergasted. And thinking about it now, with all of the the radio silence and the delays that we've had with all the other current games in the pipeline, it's crazy to me to be like, hey, we're doing 3 games now. And,
it's unheard of.
They're all coming out in a couple years.
Yeah,
like,
nuts.
It was nuts. And it really didn't take that long for them to kind of come out. And Roxas was so beloved, and people were really interested in Birth by Sleep, and
Coded was
everyone
also
was
going to be on the phone.
people were apathetic about Coded from the very beginning. But I don't know. Like it was a really interesting time.
Yeah.
And you also kind of knew that, like, if you weren't really feeling one game, you had the others.
Right.
More things were coming.
It was kind of a consolation prize to a lot of, kids my age, because I had a DS and I knew that I was going to get to play Days, and I was feeling a bit of FOMO about Birth by Sleep, but like at least I knew, okay, I've had a DS for 2-3 years now, so I got that one. but I was worried about what I was going to miss. And it was like, I don't know, am I going to try to connive my parents into getting me a PSP for one game, basically? Or am I going to just scrounge up what I can on YouTube and GameFAQs, this is really the period of Kingdom Hearts where I started to be more aware of like the online space. Like I was watching videos, and at that time, it wasn't like people doing essays. It was kind of just like YouTube poop adjacent things, or just cutscenes from the games or gameplay stuff.
Yeah.
But I was watching, stuff like that. I was on the GameFAQs message boards and like posting. Like there are posts out there from an account that I won't name, from 13, 12-year-old, 11-year-old Patty, who has like theories about what's going to happen in Days and stuff like that. So it's also a special place, timeline wise for me.
When we're not recording anymore, you have to tell me the username.
Well, the thing is, like, all the posts are gone because like GameFAQs doesn't retain everything, so it doesn't really even matter. But they're out there in the GameFAQs servers, maybe.
Yeah, but I can't imagine you having anything other than regular Pat. So like,
yeah, right.
Whatever your identity was beforehand, which God, I've had a million usernames,
right?
So. And now I have another one. So, yeah. here we are.
Here we are.
But I mean, that was such a strange, very like online dependent kind of time.
Yeah.
Forums were still very much a thing. People would go to these places to talk about games and to speculate. We were kind of sort of clawing our way out of the culture of everything is a closed event. We don't have access to trailers. Like, it still happened.
Right.
Like I don't think we ever saw the earliest version of the Days trailer. I don't think that was ever released to the public, but still people were really like, starting to go to events in anticipation of recording trailers and that sort of thing. And they started localizing trailers around now. Mm-hmm. So this is the first time when we started getting like English voice actors and trailers months before the game came out. And that was a lot of fun. Just really anticipating what it could be like to play as a character that's not Sora.
Mm.
Had a lot of people really jazzed, and the organization was wildly popular.
Yeah,
and in the fandom at this time.
That's going to kick in with my my point that I have about Days.
Oh, cool. Well, I won't harp on it too much in case I accidentally steal your thunder, but it should be noted that, like, at this point, organization Sonas were a thing.
Yep.
We have that to thank for the birth of Skrillex.
Yeah, of course.
And, everybody was just, like, kind of imagining their own organization character and, like, what the rules were and, like, what the culture was of this shadowy thing. And people were like really kind of down for it. And Days is also really interesting because it has the touch screen, it has a different battle system, it has lots of things that make it very unique.
Mm-hmm.
And not only do you not play as Sora, but like you can if you want.
Yeah. True.
Days has that really neat multiplayer feature, multi-character feature, mission modes, And I believe, and gosh, I wish I'd read the Ultimania before doing this episode, but I believe originally they wanted to make a fighting game with Kingdom Hearts characters, and
that sounds
kind of where that ended up.
Yeah, it's we have this huge roster of very popular characters, but we can't. I don't know if it was Disney that wouldn't sign off on it or whatever, but.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they kind of parlayed that into Dissidia to an extent as well, didn't they? Or am I making that up?
Yeah, no, I mean, that much we know. Like, Dissidia originally was envisioned as a Kingdom Hearts game.
Right.
And it's not that Disney said no. And Square just didn't bother pitching it because they were like, they're never going to say yes to this.
Right. But you might be surprised.
I think it's ironic.
They let Sora in Smash. They thought Disney would be tough, but they let him in.
Yeah, well, yeah, Disney was encouraging it. It's all Nomura.
Right.
He was like, I don't think so.
Yeah.
And I believe that there are Disney fighting games now. Like, there are like mobile games and stuff where like the Disney characters battle.
Yeah, it may not be to like the Street Fighter or Smash Bros level, but like it is like pitting characters against each other.
Yeah, and this will come up again in later episodes too. But the way that Disney does and does not allow its properties to be used in Kingdom Hearts is pretty interesting.
That's a whole episode, to be honest.
I mean, the laundry list of things that we have to do if we ever do a second season is just growing.
A lot of work to get done. Yeah.
But yeah, and I'm gonna say this as well before we get into it. I have a difficult time with Days. It does not really speak to me. It has never been my favorite. I have had times where I outright just dislike it.
Right.
A lot of my opinions have softened as I've gotten older. Some perspectives that I've been exposed to have kind of changed that. And I also I replayed it again for the first time since it came out, I think, 2 years ago? When did we try to do that book club?
Well, I know I was streaming it while the book club was happening, so I streamed it in 2022, I think.
Oh God. Okay. Yeah. Well, that's when I replayed it. And now my opinion is softened on it, but being honest, this is not the hater minute. This is just being honest. It's not my favorite. It's the bottom of the list for me in terms of Kingdom Hearts experiences.
Yeah.
And that's not to say it's a bad game. I don't think it is, you can think something is really well made and beautiful and understand why people like it and still say this doesn't resonate with me.
Yeah.
And I don't really care for it.
I guess I should say does it resonate? Does it not resonate with you in so much that the story doesn't hit, or just it's not fun to play, or both?
I will get into it a little bit more in my hater minute.
Yeah.
But I will say it's just not what I wanted.
Yeah. That's fair. That's more than fair.
Yeah. But I'm happy. It really does resonate with a lot of people. It's really popular. It was super accessible, so I think it does have one of the largest fan bases.
Yeah.
Regardless of what anyone says, I do think it's the most popular of the handhelds.
You think? I don't think so.
I absolutely think so.
I think the Days fans are louder, but the BBS fans are more plentiful. And the Coded fans are,
I don't think so.
Give them a rattle. Give them a bottle of milk.
Who wants to go first with the 10 minutes?
I guess I'll go, because we were kind of touching on it already. And I don't know if I can fill, 10 minutes of this on my own. So you can, obviously feel free to jump in and help me out with this. I think Days is so huge for the fandom. I just think...
Oh, are you going now?
Yeah, I'm going.
Oh, okay.
We're running. Right. You touched on that with the idea of the organization OCs. And I got into that idea after KH2, but especially after Days. I was just so enamored with it, and I know so many other people were. I remember being in school. I don't know, to be fair, if this was after KH2 or after Days. Probably after 2, but it speaks to my point still about how popular and beloved the organization is.
Sure.
I didn't know anybody in my class who liked Kingdom Hearts. Maybe they had played 1 or 2 and were aware of it. They're what the people on Twitter now are calling Gen KH fans, as in general or generic. They're not really thinking about it really hard beyond, turning off their PlayStation. But I'm rabid about it. It's my life. I love it. I've always loved it. I've always been this way. I remember having a loose leaf sheet of paper and talking to my friends about this idea of an organization, and how cool would it be if we all picked an element and made an anagram of our names. And they didn't know about Kingdom Hearts, but they also thought it was rad as fuck. That's how you have gold on your hands, because these kids who mostly play Mario Kart or Halo or Call of Duty are super into the idea of a group of people that all have this different element and this wacky ass name where you insert an X into it. It's just inherently cool for that age demographic.
I mean, it's kind of Sailor Moon for edgelord teen boys.
Yeah, but I think it hit with the girls too. I know so many girls and women who played Days when it came out, and they were equally as enamored with all of it.
Yeah, well, it does lend itself to that kind of. Did you pick an organization name?
Yeah, honestly, I should have, knowing that I was going to talk about this, I should have thought harder about what my anagram name was. I don't remember off the top of my head. Maybe in show notes.
Would it have been of Pat or Patrick?
It would have been a Patrick because that gives you more room to work with because you have like Taxpa, there's not a lot going on there.
I think Pax is kind of sexy.
Yeah, but you can't start with P. You got to start with a different letter. That's like the unspoken rule. I remember telling kids that. I was like, okay, you can't, like Alex, you can't be Axel because that's already a thing. But also, you have to add another X and you can't start with the same letter. It has to be a different letter that your new name starts with.
That's an awful lot of confidence back at a time when we didn't know half of their real names.
That's true. That's true. Because Lee was dropped in this game.
That's true.
There were people out there that thought it was Ella, Bad day for the Rihanna stans.
People thought it was Ale. People thought
Ale.
For Larxene, Arlene was really popular. Arlene? You think that wet hair Rita Ora looking motherfucker, her name's Arlene?
Sounds a little too grounded, a little too earthy.
It sounds like she's a single mom who works 2 jobs.
Loves her kids and never stops. Exactly. Yeah, that's like the opposite of her vibe. So yeah, bad call.
No.
Bad shout there.
No. Arlene's killing other people's kids. Like
she's slapping them to the floor.
Oh, Rita is not having it.
No.
But yeah, sorry. You back to the organization names. I had a similar problem though.
Yeah. Yeah. What are you? Yeah, that's tough. I guess neither of us were blessed with the easy road there for the organization name.
Honestly, I'd probably not have a humanoid nobody though, if I'm being honest.
You think you'd be like a Dusk or a...
I don't know if I'd even have one.
No? You just wouldn't make it? You're not strong enough?
I don't think so.
You would just be heartless?
No, I'm a princess.
You're the 8th princess.
I'm a princess of heart.
Yeah.
So. God, this is the worst episode. No, dude, so sorry.
Everyone's going to say it's the best. I guarantee. Everyone's going to say it's their favorite.
Yeah, because it's the days.
Right.
But the fans have always been ride or die for the organization. The second those little slutty little coats came out.
Yep.
Feral.
I mean, it's genius. Like,
feral.
Maybe nowadays we look at it like, oh, how base, how simple, everyone's got an element. I'm sure at the time it wasn't even that novel of a concept, but because of, the reach that Kingdom Hearts 2 especially had, and...
Of course it's not novel, but
right.
The Zodiac has existed for centuries.
It's just been a couple of millennia or whatever. But, it had such reach and it was so, for some reason, relatable to kids. And DayZ recognized that popularity and really expanded on it. And I guess that also parlays into my next point, which is that I think just getting to be in that space fleshed out the world so much because, and we talked about this a bit last night off the record, but DayZ is like the fanfic game. And that's not meant to be a derogatory because sometimes it's
not
just...
when you say it.
Yeah. But it's just fun to exist in that space in a way that it reminds you of how people talked about and fantasized and theorized about it online. Like talking about like what the organization members do on their days off, what the interplay is between the different members, like acting like they're coworkers because they are. Like that's how DayZ treats them as like, hey, I'm clocking in and I don't really love this person, but we have to go on this mission together. I might talk shit about them in the lounge, tell them to go bash their head against a wall. That's another Arlene quote there, which is crazy that that's in the game. I think that's like so violent. I know she's the girl that slaps children and like, children die in these games, but like she tells Roxas to slam his head against the window. That's crazy. Lost my point, and she means it. But I guess what I'm trying to say is like getting to exist in that space was such wish fulfillment for so many people. And I know people get in the weeds with, the game mostly being about a new organization member and I love Xion. I like her, but she does feel like a bit of an ass pool. I think it's fair to say, like, and again, not a derogatory. Like, I'm glad they did it, but like at the time, I understand why people were upset because it's like, hey, this game about the organization, I know like you're all excited about these different pairs and these interactions, and you get some of that, but most of the game is about this new character that does seem like a DeviantArt OC. And there's plenty to be said about whether or not that's a valuable thing to have in the game, but I think it resonated with a lot of people. I think it ended up being a really valuable character. I mean, the subject of such valuable character studies. I mean, I think the videos about specifically Xion in the online space are some of the best and most fascinating. I'm like really rambling now because I'm realizing how much I truly do appreciate all of this DayZ stuff. But
well, I mean, I will agree that like there's no other time to talk about it, so I'll talk about it now. I had a very similar view on Shion, and I still she's still not my favorite character.
Sure.
But I did not really start appreciating her and thinking like, okay, she's got a seat at the table for real. Like, it's fine that she's here, until I was kind of introduced to the thought of, well, she's trans. Like, there is this, I wouldn't even call it allegorical, because it's just factual that this was a replica created to repeat the powers of a male character.
Right.
This was supposed to be a male replica who, through some wonkiness, found a sense of identity with a female presentation. And that presentation shifts throughout the game. So, we this proves that in the Kingdom Hearts world, under certain parameters, you cannot think of gender as just a binary. Like,
right.
It's a social construct in that when you start seeing yourself as a thing, that's the truth of the matter.
Exactly.
Which is the underlying theme of Kingdom Hearts.
I was going to say, it speaks so much to the overall idea that Kingdom Hearts promotes, is like seeing is believing, and believing is believing. That's all you really need for something to be true to you, is for you to see it and believe that.
Right. And because, she was the first trans character in Kingdom Hearts, they killed her. So that was fun.
And I should say, because I want to get out ahead of like any chuds that might be in the comments, and I would hope that they haven't found their way here, because you'd have to go through either me or you to end up on No Sad Face. But
yikes.
Right. I know that people look at this character study of Shion and think, oh, but this is made in like, relatively conservative Japan. Like, how could this have been an intentional choice? It doesn't matter if it was an intentional choice. Authorial intent when analyzing media, I mean, it's fine to look at, but like in terms of how people walk away from each story and each character, it doesn't matter what the author meant to convey. It's like, if it's a valuable interpretation for people, then just let them have that.
Right. When people walk away, they don't hear the author say, yeah. Please, oh baby, she's cis. That doesn't matter.
Right. Exactly.
Cisful and clean is not the Jesus Christ. Well, that's your time.
That's fine. I'm fine. That's all we have, folks. No, I'm happy with what we got to explore during that. I think we touched on a lot of important stuff.
Here's a point that is not in my 10 minutes, but I'll make it now. We're going to keep coming to it. Nomura wants us to interpret the games without him.
Right.
Like, some people argue that some of it is bad writing, and I would agree that it's not great that we get pieces of lore through game guides that aren't available outside of Japan. But I will also say that, like, he's gone on the record multiple times of being like, I want you guys to think about it. I want you to theorize about it. I want you to, like, write it down and interpret it the way that you want. Like, stuff is left open-ended on purpose. And Nomura, I believe, really wants us to approach the Kingdom Hearts world with like the author is dead mentality, because I'm sure that he wishes that he was some days.
Yeah.
Like, he does not want to be perceived. So
no, absolutely not.
A lot of the times, like, I hate that I have to say, well, no, what I said, and according to the encyclopedia, like, who right. Like, that is annoying. But that's the culture that we're in right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What can you do?
Well, I'm going to start my 10 minutes.
Yeah, do it.
So I think our things kind of go hand in hand. This is what I like about Days. I really like that it is different, that it is unapologetically its own thing. Of course, it has Kingdom Hearts DNA. I would actually argue that, when I played Days again a couple of years ago for the first time since it came out, it was the first time that I felt like I was playing like a classic Kingdom Hearts game, because it plays like the original PlayStation 2 Kingdom Hearts. Like, I know that that's difficult to like understand, but
right.
When you're like with the camera on the shoulder buttons and the way that it like moves and the way that you fight in that space, it feels like playing the original game on the PlayStation 2, which is wild.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the physical spaces that you are existing in come from KH1, so I think that also helps.
Right. Like, Days feels like a weird sequel to 1 in a lot of ways. And I mean, technically it is, but whatever. I had lost that, and I I had gotten used to playing the remixes. And so like there was a feeling that like I hadn't had in a long time, and I was like, ooh. But in talking about what's different though and what's not the same, aside from that, the panel system, not my cup of tea, but I appreciate that it's there.
Mm.
Like I like that they're like, well, we can't do exactly 1 and 2. We're not doing the cards again. And Birth by Sleep, the command deck, like that's its own thing.
Right.
So let's give Roxas his own thing. I like how like the vibe is just different, the aesthetic is just different. Like it's so intricately planned. Like there is something very 9 to 5 about days. Like you have a job, it is regimented, you have missions. Like the mission system is also kind of intricate in a way where it's like you really can just go and redo the thing again, which you don't really get that in Kingdom Hearts. Like you finish a world, and if you come back, it's because you're looking for chests or stickers or dogs or mouse heads or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not that like you don't get to relive those exact experiences again. And you know, and being able to do it as different characters, like unlocking all of those characters is neat. Like being able to play all those characters and understand like, you know, what their movesets are, what their weapons are called. Playing as Donald and Goofy is also just the novelty of it is a lot of fun.
People forget
this is the only game where that happens.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, like making Goofy cast magic, like seeing him like throw a fireball is
feels
really
wrong.
fun.
It's wrong, but it's also good.
It's funny. Like it's neat being able to play Mickey and you know, bringing back Sora, and of course like I don't know, there's something very like slice of life about it that the other Kingdom Hearts games don't have. There's like a beautiful monotony in all of that. Like again, it's not my favorite thing, but it had a goal that it set for itself.
Yeah.
And it really kind of set itself apart in that.
I do think it's so comfy. Like it's just such a nice, like obviously like the situation is pretty dire at times throughout the story, but it is just like you said, like the monotony of it is a comfort to me. Again, not the most fun to play, to your point. Like it's not my favorite thing either. It's, you know, beneath everything we've talked about so far in a couple of games we're going to talk about still. But that 9 to 5 nature, that familiarity of it all, coming back to the home base every day, like it's a comfort.
Right. Like no wonder the Kingdom Hearts fans love it. There is like there's a sense of doing the same thing again, which you know, that's what Kingdom Hearts fans love. And I think there is this weird kind of, I think, inadvertent effect that the graphics have, because in playing it on the DS, they opted to go the 3D route, which I think is a mistake, but whatever. Sorry, it's a pot shot. I couldn't help it. But it does have this charming kind of like you're playing a game out of time, like you're playing a PS1 game kind of weird feeling.
Yeah.
When Kingdom Hearts was never that. Like there's something kind of, I don't know, there is like a weird childhood nostalgia playing that game, even though it came out well beyond the era of like, you know, your Final Fantasy 8s and your 007s and, you know, the weird, not quite intricate polygonal spaces, you know?
Right.
Like, you know, the characters, they have no facial animation. They just kind of flop around with their fingers not moving.
Yeah.
But like it's still charming. Like it doesn't feel out of place for what it's doing. And again, I don't think that was intentional. I think that they just wanted to make it look as close to the PlayStation 2 as possible, but that, you know, it created a different kind of odd nostalgia, which I think is the name of Kingdom Hearts' game. Like, it plays with nostalgia.
From the jump, it's all about that.
Mm-hmm. I also really enjoy the way that you have the other organization members as party members. Like that's also a very novel idea. It really does fit in with what you were saying about like people wanting to know what the worlds were like what it was like exploring those as an organization member, like what they were doing, like what those roles entailed. And you know, I also think that it was interesting to see the Disney worlds. There's a lovely video in March Caprice about this as well, but seeing them from the perspective of someone who is taking the world order role seriously,
Mm.
but is also like a villain.
Yeah, yeah.
Like that's pretty neat.
It does raise the question of what a lot of them were really up to and like what their role was, considering like the end goal here is to, form a Kingdom Hearts, but the only two people, like one and a half, really are able to do that. So it's like, okay, Zaldin is like working on turning one guy into a nobody. Like, what is everyone else exactly doing? Like, I feel like the game still doesn't fully answer that, but it tried.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Recon, research.
And that was always really interesting, like getting notes about the world and seeing all the different little things that they make you notice in these games. Like, I don't know, like there is kind of a sense of mentorship in the organization, which I thought was interesting.
Oh, for sure.
I wish that they explored some of those dynamics a little bit more, but
it's just a shame that like, half of the cast gets killed by like week 2 of the game,
Yeah, that is something.
It does hit hard, like it places you in that moment in the timeline. And it's cool, but it's, kind of a shame that we're down, 6 people now, 5 people.
Mm-hmm.
So, bit of a bummer.
Yeah. But also, like, I do like that they kind of really did keep it mostly from Roxas' perspective. Like, they could have zoomed the camera out a lot more.
Sure.
But they really kept that choice that you're staying with him the whole game.
Yeah, because you feel like him.
Yeah.
Especially, and there's some people, because the DS was so popular and so huge that, like, we know for example, Keynote, this was his first Kingdom Hearts game. It was the first for many. And so, like, you really feel like you're in the shoes, in the coat even, of Roxas, because you don't know, like, the metaphysics of this world. You don't know what it means to be a nobody. So you're learning all of this at the same time as him. So I think, like, even though Days, I would never recommend it being someone's entry point, even if it is, like, there is a lot of value and unique experience there.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good thing about Kingdom Hearts in general. Like, of course, release order is the way that I would recommend it.
Yeah, me too.
But, especially with the side games, you could pick them up and you really wouldn't be more lost than a lot of people are who pay attention to the plot. And also, like, quick shout out in terms of things that I love, like, this is the last performance of Wayne Allwine.
Yeah.
The voice of Mickey Mouse, who died in 2009 from complications to diabetes. He doesn't really have a lot of new stuff. His lines are all for the battle mode stuff.
Yeah.
I think he might only have like 1 or 2 really new things.
I know that one scene with him and Riku in the woods, right?
Yeah, that's not voiced.
Oh, it's not? Oh, he doesn't have any lines?
Mm-mm.
Wow.
Nope. That's they made that voiced for the movie. But
okay, that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah.
And I wonder, like, was it supposed to be voiced and they knew he was sick and they
maybe.
I don't know. But yeah, and so that's kind of sad.
Yeah.
But I do think it's really sweet that even in the remix version where he's not in the game anymore, because they don't have the battle mode, so it's Brett Iwan who plays Mickey in the Days movie. They still leave in the credit for Wayne Allwine and the in loving memory line, which I think is very nice.
Yeah, that is very nice.
I've got like 6, 5,
4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, we did it. We talked nice about it.
Oh my god, that was so hard. Oh my god. Oh.
Get some water.
Yeah, so I can dunk my DS in it.
No, I will say. I
really don't.
No, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to say, to echo your point, I have definitely also grown an appreciation for Days over the years. I think through streaming it, through doing my video where I ranked every day, I really got more acquainted with not just the story, but the battle system, learning that it's only as like obtuse as you let it be. Like if you are willing to open your mind to the different possibilities of how you set things up for your missions, it can be a lot breezier, a lot less arduous.
Yeah.
So back when I played it in 2009, I was like, that was really cool. It wasn't, I didn't like it more than any of the KH games I had played previously, but I liked it. And then it sort of, I didn't play it from 2009 until 2022. So it was just kind of there. Like I watched the movie, and I think a lot of people, we didn't really even touch on this, but I think a lot of people, subconsciously or not, have supplanted their experience with Days originally with the movie that they watched, some 5, 6, 7 years later. And it's just not the same.
Which is a shame.
Right, because the game is better.
The game is better than the movie, for sure. The game has better localization because it's not voiced. They don't have to worry about the lip flap stuff.
Right.
They're just doing what they want. And oh man, I could have talked about that too, but like Days the DS game does have like some of the best like scripted localized moments in the series.
Yeah, it's a funny game. And that's so lost in the movie. I go over it ad nauseum in the Days ranking video, but little moments like Roxas not knowing that like things are in chests and Axel like pointing that out to him, or him like dramatically turning his head to Axel on that first mission they have together in the concourse and going like, I could have done this in my sleep. This was nothing. Like it's so it's just funny.
Yeah. The Agrabah line where Roxas goes, this place is deserted, and Zephyr goes, yeah, as in full of desert.
Yeah.
I thought that was very funny.
It's cute.
I can't get over that.
Yeah.
Well, a quick anecdote before we get to our hater moments as well. A frustrating moment.
Yeah.
I'm a big Disney guy. I'm a big world design guy. So like when the worlds are new, I get very excited. And with Days, I was like, rah, rah.
Yeah.
But there is an outlier in that, Neverland.
Sure.
They did make a new Neverland for Days, and I was so excited. And like it's neat. Like it does feel like a little PlayStation 1 version of Neverland with like some cliffs and the ship and like a skull that you can kind of be in, kind of not.
Right, yeah.
Like it does not have the grandeur of anything else, but still I was so excited. I was like, I'm really gonna have a fun time there. That's gonna be really neat for me. Like, that's the thing I'm looking forward to the most.
Yeah.
Pat, the week that it came out.
Yeah.
Listeners, the week that Days came out was the week that V-Jump, the magazine, confirmed in scans that Neverland was going to be fully playable and beautifully rendered in Birth by Sleep.
Yeah. That's brutal. That's just bad timing.
I was like, that was like everything about Days with the release of it was just kind of womp womp for me.
Yeah. That definitely takes the wind out of the Jolly Roger sails.
Yeah, it surely did. All right.
But listen, you got to play BBS as well. You just had to wait a year.
Oh my god. I don't even want to get into that right now.
We all made it.
Do you want to be the 1 minute, or do you want me to go first? Whichever.
I'll go first.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Do you need a preamble, or am I good to start?
No, you can just start right now. Here we go. PJ, back when I first played Days, it was bad enough that I had to haul around a heavy backpack full of books to and from middle school, and some say video games are a form of escapism.
Sounds like you needed the preamble.
No, Days said, PJ, here's another fucking backpack for you to wear. Granted, mostly only a problem in the early game before you have like the resources to upgrade your panel stuff and your layout, but it's still a really annoying design choice in my opinion. The backpack, for those who don't know, is a support panel which lets you, quotes around lets, pick up more items when you're out in the field doing your missions. I don't remember the specific amount of extra items, but it doesn't matter, not nearly enough. I get the notion of like limiting how many items or spells or whatever a player can take into a mission. That's where the panel system I think can be really interesting and dynamic. But when it comes to like encountering a treasure chest in a mission and you can't open it because, oops, I already filled my precious little backpack with 2 potions already, where is the fun in any of that? On all 3 of my playthroughs of the game, I vividly remember running up to a chest that I can't open and using a potion that I got on the mission, even though I was at full health, so I could be allowed to open the chest, and then I get, oh, what a surprise, another potion. Whoop-de-fucking-do. What a waste.
All right, well, that was it.
Sorry, I
went
went
over. It did it twice. It was like, you need to stop now.
Yes, please stop.
We need a different timer. By the way, I hear all of your complaints about the timer.
Yeah.
I get it. We've been trying not to deal with it. iPhones just have weird presets, and sometimes it's a thing, and we will try to edit it out or be better.
Yeah.
David complained about it when he first started editing it, and now everyone's complaining about it in the comments. Oh, I've used this to go to sleep, and it's waking me up. Listen, I know that when you hear Pat talk, your first inclination is to start yawning.
Yeah.
But when I'm speaking, don't let me fucking catch you guys using this podcast to fall asleep. How rude.
Yeah. You got to time it so that you go first and then they can fall asleep during my 10 minutes, you know?
Sure. Okay, well, I'm just gonna start.
Go.
Okay?
Do it.
All right. The execution just fucking sucks.
Oh.
I was promised a game about Roxas' time in the organization. We barely get the organization, and when they do, they're just flavor text buddies. We don't learn anything about the people, really. We get Axel's real name, and that's it. We still don't know about Demix and Elixir, but that's whatever. And they brought in Shion, who I have respect for now, but like at the time, I'm like, there is no narrative reason for this character to exist. There was no foreshadowing.
Oh, shucks.
And it's such a contrivance that they invented a reason for no one to remember her after the fact. So, like, that sucks. Yeah. That was not great. That was whatever. And you're telling me that I'm playing a Roxas game? His personality is totally different? He can dual wield for one fucking mission? Oh. I can't summon nobodies? Where's my nobody summoning system? I'm supposed to be in control of them. And I don't have that? Like, what is the truth, Ellen?
Damn.
Like, what are you telling me? It's just not the organization game. It's the Roxas and the girl that looks like the writer who created her sit on a tower and eat ice cream and be sad game. And I'm over time, but I don't care. The melodrama. I love Kingdom Hearts melodrama. This game existed solely to make people think that they're sad. Everything about it is just a manipulation tactic.
Oh.
And not even a way that telling a story is. It's just like, I have a sad character that's going to make you cry. Like, I'm not a fan. I like, just what a waste. What a waste for me. I'm just not a fan. I'm going to mute every aside that you had in that, by the way.
Come on, it's funny.
Nobody needed that.
They're going to love it. I guarantee they're going to comment that it's funny.
All right.
Maybe you can take out some of them, but you gotta leave some.
I'm leaving them all. I don't give a shit about.
You went nuclear. You went nuclear on Days in a way that we haven't.
I wish I had more time because everything I said was true, and everything I said about the positive was true. So, like, you know, this isn't a debate. By the way, I don't need to hear how wrong I am in the comments. I've marinated in this stew.
Yeah,
you're not changing my opinion.
I mean, I feel like we need to do something now because, like, this is, I don't want to leave them with this. I feel like we just ripped a big stinky fart and, like, now what?
If you like Days, you should feel bad. No, well, go back and listen to the first part where I'm saying nice things about it.
Yeah, just put it on loop.
I will say this, though.
Yeah.
Somehow, through it all, I think that Days resonates with people a lot harder and deeper than any other games. I know that you disagree. I think that Birth by Sleep is where it is. I will say that I think that, like, the friendship of the main trio was handled better in Days.
Absolutely.
And because of that, like, that's the core of the game. PJ, that's it.
The
like,
friendship in
Days
where it wins. Was handled better than the friendship in KH1, 2, and 3.
In any of them.
Yeah.
So when you're like, it's Birth by Sleep, I'm like, I don't know. Every Let's Play I've ever watched of 3, people just lose their shit at Roxas and Shion coming.
Sure. I do think, like, the character studies and, like, the relationships going on in Days are way stronger. I just think, like, most people who are experiencing the series casually will walk away from Birth by Sleep and find it to be a better experience.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no one, I just don't see Days worming its way into many people's top 3, whereas I do see that with BBS. And you have to beat 3 numbered titles to get into that top 3, so it's like...
Don't you have data on this?
From the spin-off video? I don't know if I have data on, like, whether or not people like the game more than others, but on whether or not they consider it a spin-off.
Even thinking about, like, popular characters, like...
Days
trio beats the Birth by Sleep trio.
Besides Aqua is the standout. Aqua was, I think, 5th place, and I think she beat Shion by 1 placement. But Axel and Roxas. Roxas was always going to win, but Roxas has KH2 juice as well, helping him.
It's funny because he has 2 totally different characterizations that people can work with.
Your minute's up. Knock it off. All right, how do we make
he has an alternate personality in 2 because this program...
How do we make the people feel good as they wait with bated breath for the BBS
They can
episode?
feel good in their own superiority of believing that they have the correct take about Days, and I'll be fine with it.
Yeah. I do it all the time.
Do you know how many people, whenever I do like a bracket or a prediction thing or anything where I have to talk about my opinion on your channel,
yeah,
the way that every straight guy in your audience is like
all three of them,
they're like, hey, these takes are whack. PJ's takes are whack. PJ's taste is whack. Like, what? I'm whack for saying that I think Mary Poppins has a better chance at being in Kingdom Hearts 4 than fucking Atlantis? Okay.
That's not whack. That's facts. That's absolutely true.
You tell me if there's Atlantis lyrics hidden in Missing Link. I'll wait.
Yeah, stop it.
What's that? Oh, Mary Poppins? Okay, cool.
I am Treasure Planet's bravest soldier, Treasure Planet's silliest little goose, and I know that it's not going to be in a Kingdom Hearts game. Mary Poppins, Avatar, fucking Alice 2010, all of that has a better chance. Just because you like it the most doesn't mean it's likely to be in the game. Stop
I know.
I feel like we keep yelling at them. What, like...
I'm so sorry. Like, you know what? Let's end this on a good note.
Yeah.
I'm really happy that you guys listened to the first
Me too.
episode.
Me too. And thank you for listening to the last episode that you'll listen to. Treat yourself to some ice cream today, PJ. And the listeners.
Yeah.
Let's all get some ice cream.
If you want to unsubscribe, I understand. But
Don't say
think
that.
Listen, I think it would be way more better if you hate watch and you rip us to shreds in the comments. And
yeah.
Who cares that it's more engagement? Like,
Gimme.
I'm not even thinking about that. You know, I want you to state your piece, own your truth.
Yeah.
Talk about your mental health.
Start your own podcast.
You know, it's great. It's fine. We love it. Marluxia was supposed to be a girl. Happy trans visibility.
Trans rights.
I don't have anything else to say.
Let's end on that. That's great.
The joke weapons are cool. That's another thing I want to say real quick. The joke weapons are cool. That's a fun thing. That's a fun thing.
Silly little bananas, pizza boxes, umbrellas.
Yeah. God, I love the idea of just throwing CDs at people.
Yeah.
CDs nuts. Okay.
Oh.
Well, I think I have nothing else to say, and we've recorded an hour, which makes this the longest episode that we've recorded.
Because Days is a long fucking game.
And it's not quite 358 days, you know?
No, it's not.
Another thing
That's it. I'm cutting them off, folks. Goodbye. See you next time.
You know the truth. So thank you for listening to another great episode of No Sad Face, or if this is your first episode, welcome. You can find out everything about this series at nosadface.com. It will have past episodes. It'll have different places to watch. It'll have my links. It'll have Pat's links. It'll have credits. Speaking of which, our music is done by the incredible David Russell from Project Astadi. Go and download his music. He is phenomenal. There will be links in nosadface.com. Our art is done by the incredible Espurr Roba. Ingenious, again, links in the thing. All of the animation that we have for our videos, those are also done by David. Honestly, these people give us way more than we deserve, and we're very thankful. And if you want to listen to other episodes, they're all there. And if you want to find out when the next episode is, those dates will be listed on the website. And check it out. Follow us on social media.
Do it. That's my input.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye. That was good.
Okay. Yeah. God, I'm so nervous about this one.
Don't be nervous. Dude, it was funny. The whole thing was a laugh riot. People are going to love it. I know from doing like recording stuff with you in the past, people are going to love this.
3 weeks later. Well, we're canceled.
A lot of cancel PJ and Pat hashtags. No, it's good. I'm going to stop recording.
I always knew it would be you. I've worked with Anita Sarkeesian and Lindsay Ellis, and somehow...
Well...